system transformation. Why partnership on sustainable food systems is really important, and also I wish to encourage you to make the most out of the opportunity to join the sustainable food system partnership. So first, just a little recap: food, the basic human right, and the problems that are associated with it. The overweight, overconsumption of overconsumption of meat, for example, leading to high risk of chronic diseases, exceeding the planetary boundaries, and at the same time, food prices are low enough for us to waste a lot of food, and yet the producer income is not fair. At the same time, EU is producing the world's highest quality food, and also has the highest environmental standards. And these are very affordable consumer prices. But as I said, the producer income is not fair. So these undesirable outcomes are results of decisions made at multiple levels of the complex system. Therefore, we need a system change. We need to keep what works and improve what doesn't work. What's important to remember is that our food systems are providing plenty of diverse foods. I mean, you just need to look at the supermarket shelves. But the cost of the food does not reflect the true value. And as I mentioned, food waste is one sign of this. Next slide, please. In the session one, we already heard very clearly that sustainable food systems provide solutions. And it was stated very clearly that the economic, social, and environmental dimensions of food systems must all be taken into account. What I would, and this is because food systems provide transformation on a powerful lever for sustainable development. What I would like you to really pay attention in this cake is what's on the top. The cherry on the top is strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. And this is exactly what I want to talk to you about. The partnership on sustainable food systems for people, planet, and climate, and its ambition, which is to yes, we can move on to the next slide, please. The ambition of the partnership is to collectively develop and implement EU-wide commitment, a research and innovation partnership which accelerates the transition towards healthy diets that are safe and sustainably produced and consumed in resilient EU and global food systems. So first, it's good to know a little bit about the process of the development of the partnership. Because cooperation has been proven to be so important, really the aim is to coordinate, align, and leverage all the research and innovation efforts and find an integrated manner where we take care to have a transdisciplinary approach and also provide solutions to the farm to fork strategy. There has to be the scientific evidence, but also the collaborative experience between practitioners and citizens to support the transformation. And as mentioned, the objective of the partnership is to do it together. Next, please. This partnership preparation has been carried out in an open and in an interactive manner. We started already 2019, so prior to COVID-19, when we had the first workshop to look at the main challenges, what we need to address when we talk about sustainable food system. Then the COVID started. We had the public survey during the summer of 2020 and second workshop online towards the end of the 2020, just to make the outline of the partnership, what has to be addressed. Based on this work, the narrative of the partnership was drawn. So why we need this partnership, what is included, and how do we think that we have to move forward? There was 47 experts from 14 different countries and different networks working on this narrative. It also included a third workshop in the spring of 21, when we looked at synergies with other partnerships and identified complementaries. And as was stated during the earlier sessions today, there are other partnerships, and it's important to make sure that we are not overlapping, but we are complementing each other. And then in September 21, we collected stakeholder reflections on the scope and the outcome expectations of the EU member states and associated countries, funders, and foundation representatives, so that we could also react to the funders' needs. And then final partnership proposal was published April this year. The 4 thematic areas which are selected to transform the food system, and where the research and innovation focus will be in this partnership, are changing the way we eat, changing the way we process and supply food, change the way we connect with food systems, and change the way we govern food systems. Next slide, please. So these partnership focus areas, if we think about the whole food system, as was mentioned, there is the primary production also, but in sustainable food systems, we are addressing beyond production and focus on socioeconomic aspects, as re-establishing connection between growers and eaters and responsible governance. And this is really because there's a very important partnership on agroecology, and that takes care of the production levels of food system. And it's important to keep in mind, and that's why we talk about process and supply of food, not production of food. Next, please. So those are the focus areas that we need to change, but how are we going to go about the change? The partnership SRIA, Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda, started to develop alongside with the partnership narrative. The first steps were taken in a process guided by the SCA Strategic Working Group on Food Systems and involving national representatives. Then with that process, we started to formulate our 4 provisional thematic areas that are framing the different aspects of the food system development. And keeping in mind that the aim is really to coordinate, align, and leverage all the different European as well as national research and innovation efforts, it's important to keep this in mind when we look at the interconnected activities, which are listed here: the pooling of resources and programming, launching food system observatory, establishing food system knowledge hub, and then finally knowledge sharing and scaling, adaptive knowledge systems, innovation platforms, and science policy interfaces. And if we look at the slide 8, this will next slide will provide us a picture how we vision everything will work out. In the square boxes, you can see the different focus areas, what we need to change in our food system, and then in between we have these transversal activities that we believe will drive the change. What I would like to point out is important that there is a vast amount of data available, and we must analyze that better and share it better and join and partner. This is also something that was pointed out in recent high-level panel of experts report regarding data. However, we also know that there are data gaps. For example, if we think about sustainable food system, there are gaps regarding nutrition, food consumption, and dietary intake. So we also have to acknowledge that in addition to utilizing the data available, we need to focus the gaps. And something that I would also like to point out that we paid very much attention is that it's very well acknowledged that strong citizen connection is fundamental, because we must change the way we eat, not just the way how we produce or distribute food. But at the same time, the citizen engagement with the food system can be very distant, and knowledge on food system can be limited. As was earlier today mentioned, that the novel technologies, they have very strong potential in the development of crops and plants that are productive despite the climate change and help to reduce the need for chemicals such as pesticides or other plant protection products. But if these technologies are not understood by citizens, because not everyone can appreciate biochemistry or understand how it works, it's hard to respond to the consumer expectations. And because of this, there has to be a very strong focus on citizens. Then I hope that this little bit opens up why we have chosen these areas and why we have chosen these transversal activities. I also hope that you noted the many participatory processes that are behind this work. I would then like to share the timeline on the process. Next one, please. Now the narrative has been published this April, and we are currently finalizing the first version of the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda. There is a coordination team behind this, and that SCAR Food System Working Group with a task force of 9 people that are in charge of drafting the SRIA, the different focus areas, and they are also consulting relevant experts. The expert groups is actually 60 experts from different member states and associated countries, and are working on developing these thematic areas and the interconnected activities to improve and strengthen the specific topics. We also have the Food 2030 pathway owners, DG Sante and DG Agri, that are kind to contribute to our work. And now we are just about to start the consultation, open consultation with very diverse stakeholders and networks. It will start now in October, and based on that consultation, we will develop the next version of this SRIA. And then next slide, please. Finally, I would like to emphasize that food systems is far too broad to be covered just in one partnership, and therefore interaction with other partnerships is needed, and also a member state mirror groups would be very helpful to take this forward. This slide is to sort of show how many different partnerships there are, and how we need to take them into account. Then finally, I would like to finish my presentation with this slide. A few questions for you. What has been your country response to European Commission request whether or not to support the partnership? This was the request was made in early summer in June, and then it would be really good to reflect why you are in favor or possibly against the partnership, and what are your recommendations to be taken into account in the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda. Now that the open consultation starts, I wish that we are all active in developing this